And then on the other side, you have all the religions.
At this, he paused again, looked around his cluttered desk, and started building what looked like a tower of various bits and pieces. As it slowly grew in height, he continued speaking.
Remember our Bible classes? I like the stories, if not the morality. I especially like the story of Babel.
The rising structure of books, hard drives, chocolate bars, magazines, and other random items his hands could find and reach had risen to a height just below his chin. He added a few more items, adding to the precarious sway it already had. Pausing again, his hands not touching but spreading wide on either side, ready to stop in an intimate collapse. He attempted the voice of a old English vicar delivering a sermon.
Men, in all his glorious wisdom, decide to build a tower to God, so he may converse with his Creator. God, though, in his glorious wisdom, decided men should not be allowed to do this, and took steps to rectify this situation. So he cursed mankind with the gift of many tongues.
He smirked at this, his eyes never leaving his tower. He returned to his normal voice.
Well, many project plan or peace has been ruined by the inability of people to understand each other. It might be that humanity is overreaching itself again, with the final proof of the existence of Higgs boson. Maybe God's decided we're getting too close again and he's selfish about his tricks. Time for another lesson, perhaps?
At this, he slowly closed his hands into a fist on either side of the precarious edifice he had created. Then, with a single finger, gingerly pushed it near the top. With a crash, his metaphorical tower scattered across the table and the floor. He waited until the sound of the books and rubbish falling had died away before speaking again, this time in a thoughtful voice.
Maybe the blink, as they call it, is God giving us a heads up, a warning to stop encroaching on his intellectual property, else risk the consequences.
Then he grinned, his tried and true atheism once more reasserting itself.
Personally, looking at all the facts so far accumulated, I believe the answer lies even further afield,
he said, a knowing smile on his face. I took a comfort break at this point, shaking my head at this new conspiracy theory. When I got back, he'd moved on already, his head now buried in the side of a PC tower case, now perched on a different desk he'd reserved for mechanical endeavors. It was quiet for a while, broken only by his humming as he fiddled inside the case whilst I looked for somewhere reasonably clean to sit. This abruptly he spoke again, his voice oddly masked by the case.
As I was saying, I believe the answers they seek are further afield, and I feel statistical proof, in fact.
Statistics? You? He'd often laughed at statistics in the past, and blaming them for 63.75% of the world's ills in his mad pandering. He had indeed worked out a formula that, he said, proved this figure. That being said, he told me once he could destroy the world with a single spreadsheet. And in my more fatalistic moments, I honestly believed him.
I accept statistics and all their perceived infallibility are the most fallible things in the world.
He mumbled from inside the case, reaching aimlessly for a screwdriver on the desk next to him with a hand-colored orange and black from a mix of grease and Cheetos.
Take a work of fiction and add numbers to it, and it becomes nonfiction. Add a pie chart and a graph, and it becomes an inviolate truth.
Bollocks, I said, only half listening as I lounged on a large, dirty beanbag chair littered with wrappers and odd wire. He then retracted his head from the case, looked me in the eyes, and said with a devilish glint in his eye,
Pass it to the right people in the right places at the right time, and it becomes law.
I replied, deciding not to entertain his paranoid fantasies further in favor of a magazine I'd just found on the floor amongst all the other junk haphazardly discarded as part of his less ordered, less than sanitary lifestyle. He grunted at my lack of enthusiasm for containing one of his favorite topics and buried his head back in the tower case once more before continuing away.
However, in those cases, I am referring to your basic bias statistics, marketing, pressure groups, political, that kind of unreliable crap. Now, pattern recognition, that element within the field otherwise explorable statistics, that I do have time for.
Extracting his head again, he looked around the desk the case was on, shifting papers this way and that. He continued, partially lost in thought.
You heard of SCITI, of course.
Hold on. If we're heading into alien territory, you can kiss my ass right here and now. He fixed me with a glare, and I threw my hands up in the air with recognition, muttering, I'm sorry. Please continue. Oh, acknowledgeable one.
Thank you. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial life, one of the jobs being that analysts of signals bouncing in and around our local galaxy,
of which they have never found any conclusive proof of intelligent life. I reminded him pointedly. He ignored me.
What if the patterns they've been looking for are wrong? What if you could analyze this seemingly random signals another way? What if there is a pattern, but it's spread over a long period so you don't even see it has a pattern? Aha!
Triumphantly, his hand came out of a pile of books, clutching a pad of post-it notes, scattering the books across the desk. In doing so, fishing a pen from his trouser pocket, saw him scribble "to do" on the top of the notes and slap it to the side of the tower case, before turning around to face me with an excited grin on his face. Have you been watching the Discovery Channel again? Is the UFO special on this week? I asked pointedly. He looked at me indignantly, though I noticed he quickly closed the TV guide that he had opened amongst the mess.
What if I told you I had written my own pattern recognition algorithm? What if I told you that I found a message in those signals?
Bullshit, I said quietly, suddenly less sure of myself, now more than a little shaken by what this meant if he had indeed succeeded in discovering a message from the alien race.
Well, it wasn't easy,
he continued, feigning an air of false modesty.
And I do have the NSA to thank. Although, if they discover I've been running this algorithm in the background of their decryption supercomputer, then I may have to leave abruptly or apologize. You can never tell what mood they are one day to the next.
Ben, what about the messages? Cutting him short, standing to face him.
Oh, that.
He went quiet, looking around evasively. My doubts quickly returned. What was the message, Ben?